In 2019, the National Congress of American Indians reported that 54% of state history standards do not mention Native American history. In 2021, the World Population Review noted that 23 states have either passed or considered legislation banning critical race theory from classrooms, a move that would effectively downplay the role of race and slavery in American history. Across the nation, state governments and educational institutions continue to censor and to silence important voices in American history. Historical satirist Ben Tuman explores these forgotten voices in his YouTube series Skipped History, which examines overlooked narratives in American history. Despite the series' low viewership, praise from prominent historians is helping Skipped History gain momentum and change the way history is presented. This brings us to today's research question. How does Skipped History act as rhetorical resistance to the dominant narrative of American history? We can answer this through Dana L. Cloud's 2019 article, Critical Communication Pedagogy, Toward Hope and Action, published in the Oxford Encyclopedia of Communication and Critical Cultural Studies. This model is especially suitable in analyzing Tuman's videos, as Cloud places focus on tangible change in American classrooms. So let's explore Cloud's model, apply it to Tuman's videos, before discussing implications. In Critical Communication Pedagogy, Toward Hope and Action, Cloud discusses how critical communication pedagogy, or CCP, can only be effective in reforming history education if tangible action is taken. Her article is a critique of the original article of CCP by Deanna Fassett and John Warren, who argue that hope is enough to cause change in educational institutions. The critical lens through which Cloud's model is written is especially relevant, since Tuman's series can be seen as a critique of the way American schools teach history. Given the educational nature of Tuman's videos, Cloud's model is effective in analyzing Tuman's communicative success as an educator. Cloud draws on three tenets in examining the state of American classrooms. First, communication is constitutive. Second, social justice is a process. And third, the classroom is a site of social justice. First, communication is constitutive. Communication in the classroom builds the ideas and behaviors that feed into reality. The collaborative nature of communication influences the way we live, and as such, has the power to create. Second, social justice is a process. Teaching via a social justice viewpoint is effective in encouraging learning and discussion in the classroom. Cloud does recognize that bias is an obstacle within this tenet. She acknowledges that teaching under a social justice standpoint isn't meant to force political views onto others, but to encourage civil discourse gradually throughout schooling. Third, the classroom is a site of social justice. The classroom is not just a practice run for entering the real world. It is the real world. It's where ideologies are shaped and meaningful communication occurs. As such, this tenet takes our second tenet, social justice is a process, and pushes it into a tangible situation. Now that we understand Cloud's model, let's apply it to Tuman's series. First, communication is constitutive. In looking at one video, The Confederate Historian Who Shaped U.S. History, Cloud's most effective fulfillment of this tenet lies in the humor he uses. In one instance, Tuman uses humor to criticize ongoing racist depictions in American history. He quotes the subject of the video, saying, "How they sang, how they danced, so free, so happy." He follows this quote with, "Now you know it's bad when you have to put the word so in front of the word free. That's kind of like my real estate agent saying this building is so up to code." Tuman uses humor to challenge and discredit Rutherford's presentation of history, thereby replacing her reality with a new one he has created through his platform. Education that is inclusive to all people. This fulfills the first tenet of Cloud's model. Second, social justice is a process. Each of Tuman's videos follows a similar outline. He introduces his topic and research, explores what he found, and presents a lingering question. Specifically, the choice to end each question draws important attention to the process of social justice. In his video, How Mississippi Got Away with Teaching Racist History, Tuman examines the racist history textbooks Mississippi used to teach after the Civil War. He concludes this video by asking, how many students have had to learn a racist, mythological, disempowering, false version of the past? Tuman opens up the conversation to his audience, leaving them with the responsibility to determine the significance of the video topic. In this way, Tuman fulfills the second tenet of Cloud's model. Third, the classroom is a site of social justice. As Cloud encourages through this third tenet, Tuman's discussion of skipped parts of American history initiates real conversation between diverse audiences. This is particularly evident in the comments section. Under his video, maybe the most influential textbook in U.S. history, where Tuman discussed a textbook that was popularized in the North, 3 viewers discussed what coincided with their own education on Reconstruction after the Civil War. One viewer remarks that their history textbooks disparaged Reconstruction, emphasizing the nefarious activities of carpetbaggers and scalawags. The others agreed, recalling that these were the only terms they remembered from this time in history. Already, real people are engaging in civil discourse because of Tuman's videos, a core feature of our second tenet that our third tenet pushes into tangibility. Therefore, Tuman's videos fulfill the third and final tenet of Cloud's model. This brings us back to today's research question. How does skipped history act as rhetorical resistance to the dominant narrative of American history? Tuman's series serves as rhetorical resistance by actively engaging the constitutive nature of communication, constructing a social justice-oriented countermessage to the dominant historical narrative in America. However, his engagement with the process of social justice in his public classroom is not reaching enough visibility. First, Tuman's series constructs a countermessage on a widely used platform. Jürgen Habermas's 1964 public sphere theory is a necessary agent to help us understand the scope of Tuman's influence. Habermas defines the public sphere as a realm of our social lives in which public opinion is formed. According to Habermas, the common people claim the public sphere as a way to engage in civil discourse. In this way, they are actively creating a reality. In Tuman's case, he starts the conversation in a way that encourages replication. Why take our voices to school board meetings when we can take advantage of the public sphere and speak directly to the masses under a screen name? Tuman leverages the constitutive nature of communication to counter false narratives and, quite literally, construct stories that accurately reflect the complex history of America. However, Tuman's series still lacks the visibility to enact widespread social change. In revisiting Habermas's theory, we can see this as especially true. A foreign policy article remarks in 2021 that the United States no longer consists of one cohesive public sphere, as outlined by Habermas. Instead, the U.S. is composed of public fragments, or smaller public spheres. Basically, information that is circulated throughout these public fragments stays within that specific community. Tuman is successfully engaging the public sphere, initiating civil discourse, but only to the public fragment his series has created, as seen through the series' low viewership. Tuman's videos are not reaching the audience it needs to create widespread social change. After exploring Cloud's model, applying it to Tuman's video, and discussing important implications, hopefully we can see how communicatively successful Tuman's series is. While skipped history expresses hope, it's up to us to turn that hope into action.